Okay, so with the holidays upon us, I wanted to do a quick video on a very different take on Santa and the elves. Now, traditionally, you think in the United States, Santa, big, fat, plump, jolly guy, goes down ho ho ho, goes down a chimney, delivers presents, and you think of elves as these little toy makers. So, in my YA novel, young adult novel, The Grotto Under the Tree, I have a very, very different take on Santa and the elves. Now, Santa in this book is more like Gandalf meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's a warrior, he's thin, he's not fat, plump, or jolly. He's more of a religious figure, and he wields power that would be akin to something like you would see in The Lord of the Rings or Star Wars of Obi-Wan or Gandalf. And the elves in this book as well are not these little 2 feet high toy makers. I kind of took a cue from Tolkien. In Tolkien's world, The Lord of the Rings and the Middle-earth, Tolkien was once quoted as saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that his elves were a take on basically pre-fallen man. So had Adam and Eve not sinned in the Garden of Eden, they would have been immortal. They would not have been cast out and subject to mortality or sickness or anything like that. So his elves were kind of like a what-if scenario. So my elves in this story are similar in the fact that they're warriors, but they are, unlike humans who've sinned by eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, their sin was forgetfulness. It's this another theme that's in my book Mission Trip. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Whereas in this one is the elves' sin is that they forget where they came from, God, and that where their power comes from, because they come across as very powerful creatures, but in the end they're powerless against the evil, and God basically intervenes. But they're very powerful creatures, but like the United States, they forgot about their heritage and where they came from, and like the United States, they're kind of a metaphor. We forget where our liberty comes from. It comes from our Judeo-Christian heritage and our foundations of this country, which has given people freedom, which at the very beginning of the Bible, Adam and Eve have the free choice to choose whether or not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And in this country, liberty on this level of magnitude had never existed before the experiment of the United States. And so people chose to veer from this liberty that gave them power to do whatever they wanted. And that power can be used for good or it can be used for evil. And so the elves in this book have taken that power, that choice, and they have willfully forgotten about their heritage. And so at the end, they're kind of brought full circle. I don't want to give away too much, but I promise you, I don't claim to be the best writer in the world. I try very hard. Went to grad school. I worked very hard at my craft. I'd like to think I'm a half-decent writer, but I promise you, you've never read a take on Santa and the elves in this fashion. You could say, the closest I could find to it is in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when St. Nicholas shows up for about 2 paragraphs and gives the kids not toys, but weapons. So I guess that would be the closest you could find to it, but this character in this book is very different than probably anything you've ever read about the beloved figure. And I have an obsession with St. Nicholas and the fact that he was a historical figure, a Christian figure. And I've written nonfiction about him, and I've written 2 fiction stories about him. And I have a screenplay that I'm marketing with my agent that is a very different take on St. Nicholas. It's actually a historical take, and it's juxtaposed against a modern-day boy named Nicky, and it kind of follows both of the characters. So that's another take on St. Nicholas to kind of feed my fetish on this, or feed my obsession on this character that has just been really perverted by our culture. And that's basically it. So Grotto Under the Tree, if you're looking for a very different adventure Christmas story. It ends on Christmas Eve, and check it out where all books are sold. CBD, online, you can go to johntheo.com, ebook and paperback. Thanks for watching.